The sun was starting to set, casting a warm golden light over the large outdoor stage. People were gathering, chatting excitedly about the performers who would be coming up one by one. There was a mixture of families, music lovers, and curious onlookers, all eager to see something memorable. The air was filled with a sense of anticipation, a quiet buzz that comes when everyone is waiting for something special to happen. In the middle of the crowd, a small girl stood quietly, holding her hands together. She wasn't wearing anything fancy, just a simple dress and her hair tied back neatly. She had come with her parent, who had encouraged her to enjoy the music but had no idea that she might be called upon. The girl had always loved the piano. She spent hours at home, practicing quietly, sometimes so absorbed that she didn't notice time passing. Music had always been her safe place, a world where she felt understood and alive. As the performances began, the girl watched with wide eyes, noticing every detail of the stage, the instruments, and the expressions of the performers. Each person who stepped forward seemed so confident, moving easily under the lights, speaking into microphones, and playing as if the music flowed from them effortlessly. The girl listened closely, imagining herself in their place, feeling the rhythm in her fingers and the melody in her heart. She smiled quietly, hoping that someday she might have the courage to stand there herself. Backstage, the organizers were busy managing the event. They had a tight schedule, making sure that each performer was ready and that the audience remained engaged. Everything was running smoothly until someone noticed a quiet movement near the edge of the crowd. They paused, listening closely, and realized that there was a soft, clear sound of piano coming from somewhere unexpected. It was delicate, yet confident, and it carried through the air even above the chatter of the crowd. Everyone paused, trying to locate the source. The organizers quickly traced the sound and found the small girl standing at the edge, her fingers dancing lightly over a small portable keyboard she had brought with her. No one had noticed her before. She had been blending into the background, but now she was impossible to ignore. The clarity and beauty of the notes made everyone stop. It was as if the music had created a bubble around her, separating her from the crowd, making her the center of attention without anyone having intended it. The girl felt a little nervous when she noticed that people were watching her. She wasn't sure why they had stopped or why they seemed so focused on her, but she continued to play, letting the music guide her fingers as it always had. Each note seemed to flow naturally, as if it had been waiting for this moment all along. The more she played, the more confident she felt, and the soft hesitation in her movements disappeared. Back on stage, the main performer had just finished, and the crowd was clapping politely. Then the organizers made a sudden decision. They whispered to each other, nodding, and one of them stepped forward with a microphone. "We have a special surprise," they announced, scanning the crowd. "There's a young talent here with us tonight. Would you like to come up and share your music?" The small girl froze. Her heart raced, and her hands shook slightly. She had never imagined being asked to perform in front of so many people. Her parents' eyes were wide, showing both surprise and encouragement. "You can do it," they whispered softly. The girl took a deep breath, trying to calm the rush of nerves that threatened to overwhelm her. She felt the eyes of the crowd on her, and for a moment, she wished she could disappear. But then she remembered all the hours she had spent practicing, all the melodies she had imagined, and she realized that she could do this. She could let the music speak for her. With a small nod, she stepped forward, moving toward the stage. The crowd parted slightly, murmuring in curiosity as they noticed the tiny figure making her way to the spotlight. The organizers guided her to the piano, a large grand piano that seemed much bigger than anything she had ever touched. She looked at it, feeling a mix of awe and fear. It was intimidating, but it was also beautiful, and she felt a strange sense of connection, as if it was waiting for her. As she sat down on the bench, she adjusted the seat carefully and placed her fingers on the keys. The crowd had fallen silent, sensing that something unusual and special was about to happen. The small girl closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath and letting the familiar comfort of music fill her mind. Then she began to play. At first, the notes were soft and tentative, like a whisper. But as she continued, They grew stronger, more confident, more expressive. Every movement of her fingers seemed perfectly timed. Every chord resonated with emotion, and the melody filled the entire space. People in the crowd leaned forward, listening intently, caught by the unexpected brilliance coming from such a small figure. It was not just skill that amazed them, but the way the girl poured her heart into each note, telling a story without words. The performers who had been on stage earlier watched from the sidelines, their jaws dropping. They had expected talent, perhaps even good talent, but this was something entirely different. The small girl was not just playing the piano. She was commanding attention, captivating everyone with something far beyond her years. Even the most skeptical spectators felt a sense of wonder, unable to look away as the music swirled around them, filling every corner of the venue. Backstage, the organizers exchanged astonished glances. They had made a split-second decision, and it had turned into a magical moment that no one could have predicted. Some of them whispered to each other, unable to contain their excitement. "This is incredible," one said. "She's going to be remembered tonight." As the music continued, the small girl became lost in her own world. The crowd seemed to fade away, leaving only her and the piano. Every chord, every note, every delicate nuance came from her heart, and the audience could feel it. There were smiles, tears, and silent gasps as people realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. In that moment, the small girl was no longer just a child in the crowd. She was the center of an unforgettable experience, a reminder of the power of raw talent and pure passion. When the final note lingered and slowly faded into silence, the crowd remained quiet for a few seconds, almost unwilling to break the spell. Then the applause erupted, loud and thunderous, filling the evening air with cheers and clapping. People were on their feet, some shouting words of praise, others simply clapping in awe. The small girl looked up, surprised and overwhelmed, as the realization sank in that she had done it. She had shared her music with the world, and the world had listened. Her parents stepped forward, hugging her tightly, whispering words of pride and love. The girl felt a mixture of relief and joy, a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. She had faced the fear of performing, embraced it, and had created something magical. The organizers came over, smiling and congratulating her, offering kind words and encouragement for the future. In the crowd, people talked excitedly, sharing the story of the small girl who had been pulled from the crowd and had silenced the room with her piano performance. Some would remember the moment for years, retelling it to friends and family, while others would carry the feeling of awe and inspiration home with them. And for the girl, it was a night she would never forget. The night she realized that her music could touch hearts, inspire minds, and leave a mark on the world, no matter how small she was. The small girl felt the warmth of the stage lights on her face and the soft pressure of the piano keys under her fingers. Her heart was racing faster than ever, but for the first time, she felt a strange calmness in her chest. She knew she had to trust her music, the same way she had trusted it countless times at home when no one was watching. This was different, much bigger, and she could feel the weight of the crowd's attention pressing down on her. But she let it inspire her instead of scaring her. As she adjusted her posture on the piano bench, she noticed the expressions of the people in the audience. Some were leaning forward, curious and attentive, while others had their eyes wide in anticipation. There was a mix of excitement and skepticism, the kind that fills a room when a child is about to do something extraordinary. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that music had no fear, only emotion. That thought alone gave her courage. The first note she played was soft, almost shy, but it carried a clarity that made the crowd sit up a little straighter. She began to play a familiar piece, something she had practiced countless times, but this time it was different. Each note was infused with her own feelings, the joy and wonder she carried as a child discovering the world. The audience could sense it, even if they didn't understand why, and they began to listen more intently, letting the music wrap around them like a warm blanket. As the melody unfolded, the small girl started to feel more confident. Her fingers moved with grace and precision, each key press telling a story. She noticed some people closing their eyes, lost in the sound, and others leaning closer, wanting to catch every subtle change in tone. Even the organizers, who had seen hundreds of performers, were now watching in silence, captivated by the unexpected talent before them. It was as if the music had created its own language, one that required no words to communicate. Behind her, the parent watched nervously, their heart swelling with pride. They had always known their child had talent, but seeing it unfold in front of a large audience was something entirely different. They could feel the crowd's energy mixing with their own, a collective emotion that seemed to lift the small girl higher with each note she played. There was no turning back now. She was in the moment, and the moment was hers. The piece began to gain momentum, moving from gentle, tender passages to more powerful and complex sections. Her fingers flew across the keys, keeping perfect rhythm while adding subtle nuances that made the music feel alive. The audience was silent now, completely absorbed, with only the occasional soft gasp escaping as the girl hit particularly beautiful notes. The music was no longer just a performance. It was a story unfolding before them, a story told through the language of her heart. Some members of the audience began to realize that this child was not just talented, but exceptional. The precision, the emotion, the sheer confidence in her playing left them speechless. It was not often that someone could communicate so much with just their hands and a piano. People started whispering to each other, sharing their amazement, as if saying it aloud might break the magic of the moment. Every time her fingers touched the keys, it felt like she was speaking directly to each listener, conveying feelings that went beyond words. The small girl felt a surge of energy as she noticed the reactions around her. She realized that the music could reach people in ways she had never imagined. A few people had tears in their eyes, and some were nodding gently as if they understood every emotion she was expressing. That simple recognition fueled her further, giving her the courage to dive deeper into the piece, to play with even more feeling and intensity. She could feel the piano responding to her, almost as if it was a living partner in the performance, echoing her emotions and amplifying them for the entire audience. Backstage, the organizers whispered among themselves, amazed by what they were witnessing. They had seen incredible performances before, but there was something different about this small girl. She had not only mastered the piano, but she had captured the hearts of everyone present. They knew that moments like this were rare, moments that would be remembered long after the event ended. It was a reminder of how talent, courage, and authenticity could create something truly extraordinary. As the piece reached its climax, the small girl poured every ounce of her emotion into her playing. The room seemed to vibrate with the power of the music, every note echoing in the hearts of the listeners. She lost herself completely, forgetting the size of the stage, the number of people watching, and even the nervous flutter in her chest. There was only the piano, the music, and the connection she felt with the audience. It was a pure, unfiltered exchange of feeling, and it was magical. When the final notes rang out and slowly faded into the evening air, the small girl sat still for a moment, letting the silence wash over her. She had given everything she had, and now it was time to let the audience respond. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The crowd erupted into applause, some people standing, others shouting words of praise, all of them showing their admiration for the young performer. It was a sound that filled her with awe and a deep sense of accomplishment. The parent rushed forward, embracing the small girl with tears in their eyes. "You were amazing," they whispered, their voice full of pride. The girl felt a rush of happiness and relief, knowing that she had not only faced her fear, but had also shared a piece of herself with the world. She looked out at the crowd, seeing smiling faces, tearful eyes, and expressions of pure wonder, and realized that music had the power to touch hearts, even in ways she had never imagined. People began to come forward, offering kind words and congratulations. Some wanted to know how long she had been playing, others asked if she would perform again. The small girl answered shyly, grateful for the encouragement, feeling a new sense of confidence building within her. She realized that this was more than just a performance. It was a moment of connection, a reminder that even a small person could make a big impact through dedication and passion. The organizers gathered around, smiling and praising her, explaining that she had not only impressed the audience but had also set a standard for everyone at the event. They offered guidance and opportunities, suggesting ways she could continue to grow and share her talent. The small girl listened carefully, feeling a mixture of excitement and curiosity about what the future might hold. She knew that this was only the beginning of her journey, and the possibilities felt endless. As the evening drew to a close, the girl and her parent walked away from the stage, hand in hand. The air was filled with conversations about the performance, stories being told, and memories being made. People would remember this night for years to come, not just because of the music, but because of the courage and authenticity of the small girl who had stepped into the spotlight. She had shown that talent and heart could create something truly unforgettable. In the quiet moments after the applause, the small girl reflected on what had happened. She thought about the nerves she had felt, the courage it had taken to play in front of so many people, and the joy of seeing her music touch others. She realized that music was not just a hobby or a skill. It was a way to communicate, to connect, and to inspire. And in that moment, she felt a deep sense of purpose, knowing that she had found something that could guide her for the rest of her life. The applause slowly faded, but the air was still thick with awe. The small girl felt her heart still racing, yet a warm sense of pride wrapped around her. She could hear people whispering to each other, talking about how someone so young could play with such skill and emotion. It made her smile quietly to herself, feeling both proud and amazed that she had managed to share her music with so many people at once. As she rested her fingers lightly on the piano keys, she realized that this was not just a performance anymore. It had become a conversation. The music had spoken, and the audience had listened. Each note had carried a piece of her heart, her joy, and even the nervous excitement she had felt walking onto the stage. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the memory of her own playing wash over her, and felt a sense of calm she had never felt before a performance. The organizers, still standing nearby, were exchanging amazed looks. They had witnessed many talented musicians over the years, but few had left such an immediate and profound impression. One of them whispered, "She's extraordinary. Look at how she holds their attention. Even the adults can't look away." Another nodded quietly, still stunned by the raw talent displayed by someone so young. They began to quietly discuss what opportunities might come from this, knowing that such a moment could change the course of the girl's life. Meanwhile, the crowd had started to settle, but the buzz of excitement remained. People were talking in hushed tones, sharing their feelings about the performance. "Did you hear that?" someone asked, their voice trembling with awe. "I've never heard anything like it from a child her age." Others nodded, agreeing, some wiping tears from their eyes, moved by the depth of the music. The energy in the room was electric, charged with appreciation and admiration for the young pianist. The girl took a deep breath and decided to continue. She felt a surge of courage, realizing that the music she loved could connect people in ways words never could. She started another piece, slightly different in tone, more expressive and personal. This time, she allowed herself to improvise, letting her emotions guide her fingers. The melody flowed naturally, as if it had been waiting for her all along, growing stronger and richer with every note. The audience was spellbound. Each chord seemed to speak directly to them, carrying emotions they hadn't even realized they were feeling. Some people were leaning forward, completely absorbed, while others closed their eyes, letting the music fill every corner of their minds. The small girl had become a bridge, connecting her world with theirs, and they were grateful for the gift she was sharing. Even the most casual listeners were held captive, unable to look away or stop themselves from listening. Backstage, the organizers were quietly taking notes and making mental plans. They realized that this performance was more than just a highlight of the evening. It was something special, something that would be remembered long after the event had ended. They began to whisper to each other about ways to support the girl, about opportunities for her to perform in larger venues or to study with renowned teachers. They wanted to ensure that her talent did not go unnoticed, that she could continue to grow and inspire others. The small girl was completely immersed in her music now. She forgot about the crowd, the lights, and even the nerves that had plagued her earlier. She was alone with the piano, communicating through the language she understood best. Every note was infused with feeling, every pause deliberate, every chord a reflection of the emotions swirling inside her. The audience could feel it too, and they responded instinctively, leaning closer, listening harder, and allowing themselves to be carried away by the beauty of her performance. As she continued, a sense of rhythm and flow took over her completely. She moved seamlessly from one passage to another, blending soft, gentle notes with bold, dramatic ones. The piece was alive, and the audience was fully aware of every rise and fall, every subtle change in tempo, every delicate touch that made the music feel human. Some people were holding their breath at particularly moving moments, while others whispered softly to each other, sharing their astonishment and admiration. The girl noticed a few faces in the crowd that stood out. A woman had tears rolling down her cheeks, clearly moved by the depth of emotion she was conveying. A man near the front had his hand over his heart, showing a quiet, personal connection to the music. Seeing these reactions gave the girl a deeper sense of purpose. She realized that her playing was more than entertainment. It was a way to reach people, to touch their emotions, and to leave a lasting impression. As the piece approached its final section, the small girl felt a rush of excitement and anticipation. She had built the performance carefully, each segment flowing into the next, and now it was time to bring it all together. Her fingers danced over the keys with confidence and grace, each note more powerful than the last. The music swelled, filling the room, reaching every corner, and resonating in the hearts of everyone present. There was an almost tangible energy in the air, a sense that something extraordinary was unfolding. The final chords echoed, lingering for several moments before fading into silence. The small girl lifted her hands from the piano, her chest rising and falling with exertion and emotion. She looked up and saw the audience frozen, stunned by what they had just experienced. The silence was thick with admiration, with disbelief, with the awe of witnessing someone so young create something so beautiful and moving. Then, slowly, the applause began. At first, it was polite and tentative, but it grew rapidly, swelling into a wave of clapping, cheering, and shouting. People rose to their feet, some crying, some laughing, all of them expressing their joy and amazement. The small girl felt a warm rush of happiness, realizing that she had shared something meaningful, something that had truly touched the hearts of others. She smiled shyly, her face glowing with pride and relief. The parents stepped forward, embracing her tightly. "You were incredible," they whispered, tears in their eyes. "I've never been more proud." The girl hugged them back, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. She knew that she had faced her fear, stepped into the spotlight, and shown the world what she could do. And now, she understood that her music could make a difference, even if it was just for a moment. The organizers came over, offering congratulations and praising her performance. They spoke of opportunities, suggesting ways she could continue to develop her talent, perhaps performing in other venues, or connecting with mentors who could guide her further. The small girl listened carefully, her mind buzzing with excitement and possibilities. She had never imagined that a single night could open so many doors, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude for everyone who had encouraged her along the way. In the crowd, people were still talking, sharing their amazement and recounting moments from her performance. Some had pulled out their phones to capture the memory. Others simply wanted to hold it in their minds, a reminder of what they had witnessed. The story of the small girl who had been pulled from the crowd and silenced the room with her piano would be retold many times, inspiring others and reminding them of the power of talent, courage, and authenticity. As the evening wore on, the girl and her parent walked away from the stage, hand in hand. She felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration, a feeling she had never known before. She realized that this experience was just the beginning of a journey, one that would take her to new places, introduce her to new people, and allow her to continue sharing the music that lived inside her. She had taken a step into the unknown and had come out stronger, more confident, and more inspired than ever before. That night, as she lay in bed thinking about what had happened, the small girl replayed the performance in her mind. She thought about the faces in the audience, the silence, the applause, and the feeling of being completely in her element. She realized that music was more than notes on a page. It was a bridge to connect hearts, to express emotions, and to create memories that would last a lifetime. And with that realization, she fell asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of the music yet to come, and the many people she would touch with her gift. The room seemed to hold its breath as the last note faded, leaving a silence so deep that it felt almost sacred. The small girl remained seated at the piano, her fingers hovering lightly above the keys, her chest rising and falling as she tried to steady her heartbeat. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was filled with awe, a collective recognition of something extraordinary that had just occurred. Every eye in the room was on her, and for the first time, she fully understood the power of the music she had shared. Then, as if a dam had broken, the audience erupted into applause. The sound was overwhelming, filling every corner of the venue, bouncing off walls and shaking the stage. People stood, cheering and clapping, some with tears in their eyes. The small girl's initial surprise turned into a shy, glowing smile as she realized the effect her music had on the crowd. She had expected polite claps, maybe some appreciation, but this was something far greater. It was as if the audience had been waiting for someone like her. And now that she had performed, they couldn't help but show their admiration. Her parent rushed forward, wrapping her in a tight embrace. "You were amazing," they whispered, their voice trembling with pride. The girl clung to them, feeling a mixture of relief, joy, and disbelief. She had faced her fears, stepped into the spotlight, and now she had shared a part of herself that no one could ignore. It was a moment she knew she would remember for the rest of her life. Organizers and volunteers moved closer, offering congratulations and praising her performance. They spoke in hushed tones, careful not to break the magic of the moment, but it was clear that they were deeply impressed. They had been part of many events, had seen countless performers, but rarely had they witnessed someone who could capture the attention and hearts of an entire audience in such a profound way. Their whispers carried words like incredible, talented beyond her years, and truly special. People from the audience began approaching, some timidly, others more boldly, eager to express their admiration. "That was beautiful," a woman said, her eyes shining with tears. "I've never heard music like that from a child. You have a gift." A man nodded in agreement, adding, "You've touched something inside me I didn't even know was there. Thank you for sharing your music." The small girl nodded shyly, overwhelmed by the praise, her cheeks warming with a mix of pride and embarrassment. As the applause continued, a few of the older performers who had been on stage earlier walked over. They offered smiles and kind words, recognizing her talent and the courage it had taken to perform in front of so many people. "You have a natural gift," one said gently. "Keep practicing, keep playing, and never let anyone tell you that you're too young or too small to make a difference. You've already proven that tonight." The small girl listened, her heart swelling with gratitude. She felt the weight of their words, knowing that encouragement like this could guide her as she grew in her musical journey. The crowd gradually began to settle, but the energy in the room remained. People continued to talk excitedly, sharing their experiences and reactions. Some were recording short clips on their phones, wanting to capture a memory of this magical performance. Others were simply holding the moment in their hearts, knowing it was something rare, something worth remembering. The small girl realized that her music had left an impression far bigger than she had imagined. It had reached into the hearts of people she had never met and had created a bond between her and the audience. Backstage, the organizers began discussing ways to support the girl. They spoke of opportunities to perform at other events, to study with professional teachers, and to connect with mentors who could help her develop her talent further. They wanted to ensure that this moment was not just a fleeting recognition, but the beginning of a journey that could shape her life. The small girl listened quietly, her mind buzzing with excitement. She had never imagined that a single performance could open so many doors, and she felt a deep sense of hope for what lay ahead. Her parent held her hand as they walked away from the stage, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The small girl's mind was still racing with the experience, replaying every note she had played, every reaction she had seen, every feeling she had poured into the music. She realized that this performance had been more than just playing the piano. It had been sharing a piece of herself, a connection that words could never fully express. And she understood that the impact of her music went far beyond the stage, touching the hearts of everyone who had listened. In the following days, the story of the small girl who had been pulled from the crowd and silenced the room with her piano performance began to spread. People who had witnessed the event shared their experiences on social media, in conversations with friends, and through local news outlets. The story captured the imagination of many, inspiring others with the tale of a child whose talent and courage had created a moment of pure magic. The girl herself was both amazed and humbled by the attention, understanding that her music had the power to inspire and bring joy to others. She began receiving messages and invitations from music teachers, event organizers, and even local community leaders who wanted to support her talent. Each message was a reminder that her gift was recognized and valued, and it filled her with both excitement and responsibility. She knew that this was a chance to grow, to learn, and to continue sharing her music with the world. And although the attention was sometimes overwhelming, it also motivated her to practice more diligently and to explore the depths of her musical abilities. The small girl continued to play at home, but now she did so with a renewed sense of purpose. Every note she touched on the piano was a reminder of the connection she had made with the audience, of the power of courage, and of the importance of believing in herself. She felt a deep sense of responsibility to honor the gift she had been given, to continue learning, and to share her music with those who would listen. It was no longer just a hobby. It had become a calling, a path that she knew would guide her through many stages of her life. As she reflected on the events of that evening, she realized that the experience had taught her valuable lessons. She had learned about courage, about stepping into the unknown, and about trusting in her own abilities. She had discovered that music was not just a skill, but a powerful form of communication that could touch hearts, create memories, and inspire change. And she understood that even a small person, with a big heart and dedication, could create a moment that would be remembered forever. In the weeks that followed, the small girl continued to receive recognition and encouragement from teachers, mentors, and fellow musicians. She was invited to participate in local concerts, to perform at community events, and to work with experienced instructors who could help her refine her technique and expand her repertoire. Each opportunity was a stepping stone, allowing her to grow not only as a musician, but also as a young person learning to navigate new experiences and responsibilities. Despite the growing attention and opportunities, the girl remained grounded. She continued to practice diligently, not for fame or recognition, but for the love of music and the joy it brought her. She remembered the feeling of sitting at the piano that first evening, the nervous excitement, the connection with the audience, and the sense of wonder that had filled her heart. Those feelings became the foundation for her growth, a reminder of why she played and what she hoped to share with the world. The small girl's journey was just beginning, but the events of that night had already shaped her in profound ways. She had experienced the magic of sharing her talent, the power of courage, and the joy of connecting with others through music. And as she looked forward, she knew that the path ahead would be filled with challenges, learning, and new opportunities to inspire and touch hearts. The memory of that performance, of silencing the room with her music, would remain with her forever, guiding her as she continued to grow and explore the endless possibilities of her gift. The small girl woke up the next morning feeling a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. The events of the previous evening were still fresh in her mind. She replayed every moment of walking onto the stage, sitting at the piano, and hearing the room fall silent as she played. The memory of the audience's reaction, the applause, the cheers, the tears in some faces, was still vivid. She smiled to herself, feeling a sense of pride and wonder at what had happened. Her parent reminded her gently that the day ahead might be full of new experiences. They had been contacted by several local media outlets, music teachers and community leaders who wanted to meet the girl, hear her play again, or even arrange more performance opportunities. At first, the girl felt a little overwhelmed by all the attention, unsure of how she would handle so many new faces and situations. But she also felt a growing sense of responsibility. She knew that this was a chance to continue sharing her music and making a positive impact. The first meeting of the day was with a music teacher who had heard about her performance. The teacher greeted her warmly, smiling in a way that immediately put the girl at ease. "Your playing last night was extraordinary," the teacher said. "I would love to help you explore your talent even further." The girl listened carefully, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had never worked with a professional before, and the idea of learning new techniques and expanding her abilities thrilled her. She realized that this was more than just praise. It was an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to understand music in ways she had never imagined. Throughout the morning, she met with several people who had been moved by her performance. Some were journalists who wanted to share her story. Others were organizers of future events who invited her to perform again. Each encounter reinforced the idea that her talent could reach far beyond her own home and practice sessions. She felt a mixture of humility and confidence, understanding that while her gift was extraordinary, it was also a responsibility. She wanted to honor it, to continue improving, and to inspire others with her music. By midday, she returned home to practice. Sitting at her piano, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The memory of the previous night's performance guided her fingers as she played, reminding her of the emotions she had conveyed and the connection she had made with the audience. Every note she pressed now carried not only the sound of music but also the story of her journey, the courage it had taken to step forward, and the joy of sharing her passion with others. Her parent watched quietly from across the room, proud of how she handled the attention and the new opportunities. They knew that this was a pivotal moment in her life, one that could shape her future in ways they had only dreamed of. They reminded her gently that while recognition and opportunities were wonderful, the most important thing was to remain true to herself and her love for music. The girl nodded, understanding that her heart and her dedication to her craft were what made her music so special. As the weeks passed, the small girl continued to perform at various events and workshops. Each performance was met with admiration, applause, and sometimes tears from those who were moved by her playing. She worked with teachers and mentors who helped her refine her technique, explore new styles, and understand the depth of musical expression. The more she learned, the more confident she became, and the more her love for music grew. She discovered that practice was not just about perfecting notes but about communicating emotion and telling a story through her instrument. The experiences also taught her about resilience and focus. There were moments when she felt nervous, unsure, or exhausted from the many performances and lessons. But each time she returned to the piano, she remembered the feeling of connecting with an audience, the joy of creating something beautiful, and the magic of sharing her gift. These memories carried her through the challenges, giving her the courage to keep moving forward, to embrace new opportunities, and to continue growing as a musician. One evening, after a particularly moving performance at a community event, the small girl sat quietly at home, reflecting on how far she had come. She thought about the moment when she had been pulled from the crowd, the first time she had played in front of so many people, and the silence that had followed her music. She realized that everything had changed from that one evening. She had not only shared her talent with others, but had also discovered a part of herself she had never fully known. The ability to inspire, to connect, and to create a lasting impression. Her parent noticed her quiet reflection and sat beside her. "Do you remember the first time you played on stage?" they asked gently. The girl nodded, a small smile on her face. "It feels like a lifetime ago," she said, "but it also feels like it just happened. That night changed everything." Her parent nodded, understanding the depth of her words. "And it will continue to change everything, in ways you can't even imagine yet. Your music has power, and you have the heart to use it wisely." The small girl thought about the people she had met, the teachers who had guided her, the audiences who had listened, and the friends she had made through music. She realized that her journey was not just about her own talent, but about the connections she had built, the emotions she had shared, and the inspiration she had sparked in others. She understood that music was a gift not only for herself but also for the people who experienced it, a way to bring joy, comfort, and wonder into the world. As she prepared for future performances, she felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. Each new event was an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to share her music with new audiences. She approached every performance with care, respect, and a dedication to giving her best, remembering the lessons she had learned about courage, authenticity, and the power of emotion in music. She knew that each note she played had meaning and that every performance was a chance to touch someone's heart. In the months that followed, the small girl's story continued to inspire people. News articles, social media posts, and word of mouth spread the tale of the child who had been pulled from the crowd and silenced a room with her piano performance. People marveled at her talent, her courage, and the purity of her music. Many were motivated to explore their own passions, to take risks, and to believe in their own abilities. The small girl's journey became a reminder that even the youngest and seemingly smallest among us can create something extraordinary with dedication, heart, and courage. Through it all, the girl remained humble and focused on her love for music. She continued to practice daily, explore new compositions, and learn from her mentors. She discovered that music was not just about performance or recognition. It was about expression, emotion, and connection. She learned to listen deeply, not only to the piano but also to the world around her, to the feelings and experiences that could inspire her next piece. Her talent was growing, but so was her understanding of the true purpose of her gift. Years later, she would look back on that first evening with a smile, remembering the nerves, the silence, the applause, and the joy she had felt. She would remember how one small step, being pulled from the crowd, had changed the trajectory of her life, opening doors she had never imagined and giving her the courage to pursue her dreams. And she would carry the lessons of that night forward, knowing that music, courage, and heart could create moments that inspire, connect, and change lives. The small girl had discovered that talent alone was not enough. It was the heart, the dedication, and the willingness to share one's gift that made all the difference. And in sharing her music, she had not only silenced a room but had also opened the hearts of countless people, leaving a legacy of inspiration, joy, and the magic of music that would continue to grow with her for the rest of her life.